This from the NCAA on Monday after lifting sanctions on Penn State's football program. Due to Penn State University's significant progress toward ensuring its athletics department functions with integrity, the NCAA Executive Committee today eliminated the school's postseason ban effective immediately and will return the full complement of football scholarships in 2015 and 16. And with that, the Nittany Lions will soon be back at full strength. Hello, everyone. I'm Ray Crawford, and joining me to discuss the NCAA's decision is Mark Dent, who covers Penn State for the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Mark, do you have any indication how long the school and James Franklin knew that this was coming, and what do they do specifically to deserve the lifting of the ban?
Well, so it kind of traces back to last year. It was last September when George Mitchell and the NCAA kind of agreed to, in the first place, reduce some of the sanctions. They gave back a few scholarships. Then a couple months after that, George Mitchell actually spoke to the university's board of trustees. I believe it was December of last year. And again, he kind of hinted that if Penn State continues to continue with some of the recommendations that were put forth by the NCAA and by the Free Report in 2012, that he would look again at revising the sanctions in September of this year, which was obviously ended up being today. But as far as when did they know that this was a real possibility, I think you look back to about a month ago, and this goes much further even past the football team and James Franklin, like all the way to the Pennsylvania State House. There's been a couple of state officials, a congressman, as well as the state treasurer, who have sued the NCAA to keep the fine money in states, and that suit was then extended to question the validity of the consent decree. And this made the NCAA really worried. And about a month ago, they started to have settlement talks with regards to this lawsuit. And it was about that time when it really kind of became apparent to a lot of people that it's likely some of these sanctions are going to get reversed. Now, did people think that the bowl ban and scholarships would both get brought back this quickly? Not necessarily, but I think that it was fairly known that the NCAA was going to maybe give back one or the other, and was going to do it this month. Maybe not necessarily today, but certainly by the end of this month.
Many predicted doom and gloom for the program when the sanctions first came out. It turns out they weren't as crippling as first thought. Why is that?
I think the first thing is because not that many players left. When the sanctions were handed out in 2012, one of those stipulations was that any player on the roster, freshman to senior, could leave for any football program they wanted to and not have to sit out for a year. And only about 10 or 12 players left. And of those 10 or 12 players, there were a couple who were big names, like Silas Redd, obviously the running back, who went to USC, and Justin Brown, a wide receiver, who went to Oklahoma. But other than that, pretty much everybody stuck around. So the roster wasn't really all that depleted. Had the roster been depleted then, I think Penn State would have been in a much different situation. And the other aspect of that is, I think in general, outside of the death penalty, which was, of course, very consequential for SMU, NCAA sanctions rarely have that much of an effect. I mean, programs like Alabama have pretty much been on probation nonstop, for the last 20 or 30 years, and they win championships and do everything else. And, look at USC as well. They had basically one down year after the sanctions that they had against them that were, somewhat similar to Penn State's.
Interesting. Penn State, as you know, 17-9 with the sanctions. They have one of the best young coaches in college football. They still appeal to top recruits. How quickly now can this program return to the nation's elite and contend for a national title?
Well, I think it's going to be sooner rather than later. A national title, I think, is still clearly far out of their grasp for at least another couple years. Even before the sanctions, Penn State hadn't been nationally relevant for a few years. They were competing for Big Ten titles, but it had been 7 or 8 years before they were really in the mix for national title discussions. But as you said, James Franklin is one of the best coaches. Christian Hackenberg, who's a sophomore quarterback, is one of the best quarterback prospects in the entire country. Add that to a couple of young wide receivers who have really shown that they're going to be something this year, as well as maybe the best group of tight ends in the country. And then this coming 2015 recruiting class, which Franklin is not done with, especially now that he'll be able to sign a few more scholarship players, is going to be something special. They were ranked #1 a few months ago. I think it's probably dropped down to probably number 5 or 6 at this point. But either way, they got a lot of great young players coming in with a core that's already pretty young. And with the Big Ten, as you saw this weekend, is not exactly going to be a power. So anybody can kind of step up, and I think Penn State will do that within the next couple of years even.
The door is open for them to rise again in the Big Ten. All right, Mark Dent with the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, thanks very much for joining us.
Anytime, Ray. Thanks.
And what do our in-house analysts think of Monday's announcement? Check out that and all the buzz in college football on the download, only on CampusInsiders.com.